Pokemon Essentials version 18 God Mode. I wanted to let you know about something that I have already said before, but I just wanted to say that again, that the reason why I am showing you the Essentials God Mode is the fact that you can then learn what exactly do I do when it comes to these games. Now, it is possible that the game you are trying to hack is not using the version that you are seeing currently, but you can download all of these versions and check the scripts, and if the scripts match with one particular version, then you need to see the guide for that version. So let's continue with the God mode for Pokemon Essentials version 18. The first step is going to be, as always, copying the Nirvana map from the given God mode. So let's first start the game that you're trying to hack. That's open now. Then I will go to the God mode for Pokemon Essentials version 18 that I have already given before. Then I'll go to the bottom, right click on Nirvana, copy that, go back and paste it inside the main folder of this particular game that you're trying to hack. Next up is going to be the creation of required variables. So let's get to that. First of all, you need to go to this particular box. Oh, and before that, I need to remind you that the Nirvana map can break when you copy it from the already made God mode to the game you're trying to hack. So if that happens, you need to change the map yourself. If you do not want any decorations here, just remove everything from all three layers and just go to the first layer and use any grass or something tile set that the player can walk on. Other than that, you need nothing. So let's start adding the variables. So you need to double click this particular box, which is 14,23. Once you do that, you need to see this variable here. Then click on this arrow, go to the last one, and you can see the last initiated value was 100. Then you need to change that to +4. So if it was 100, you need to do it 104. After that, the first value is the one you need to select. So this is the first value after 100. I'll just click on the 101 and click on apply. Okay, and the same thing here. Once that is done, we are going to start adding the scripts. So let's go to the GM toolkit, open the script copier, right click here, open in terminal, minimize the folder if you have opened it. Then you need to type Python scriptcopy.py, enter. We are not using version 19, so we are just going to press enter because no is the default input. The check variable is the first variable after the last initialized variable. So since it was 100, the check variable will be 101. Next up is the map ID, which is 22 in my case, as you can see here. Next up is the player coordinates, so that are 14,23. This is the coordinate where the player will be teleported to. Then we need to go to the module input, so just open the scripts editor, press Ctrl Shift F, type module input, and then you can see we have P systems controls and P system system. You need to go to the controls one. Now here you need to look for the largest value among these, and since this one is already sorted, the largest value is 33. You need to type the largest value here. So in my case, it is 33. After that, the input mode is complete. Now we can start adding the scripts page. So just press 1, press enter, go back to the scripts editor, go to the bottom, and here above main, you need to just add another script. I'm also going to be adding some blank scripts so that I can make them look good. You don't necessarily need to do that. Also, the name of the scripts don't matter. You can name them anything, but I like to name them something that can tell me what is inside them. So you have to paste the thing that was copied from this. So when you press 1, it will copy all of the scripts, and then you can just go here and paste them. Now I'll explain what exactly is happening in the God mode scripts. First of all, these two are creating the variable for maximum level and bagmax per slot, which are being used in the Nirvana map. Without these, the game will crash on the Nirvana map depending on the NPC you are using. So I did this because of the fact that the version 18 of Pokemon Essentials is using the variables with underscore, but the Nirvana map is using without the underscores. So if the underscore variables exist, then we are just creating the ones without the underscore. That's pretty much what's happening here. This is just done so that the Nirvana map NPCs do not break. Next up are going to be these three. So these three are responsible for getting the IDs for when you go to choose a Pokemon or choosing an item or choosing a move. So all of these three have almost nothing that's different except these three values. So PB species, PB items and PB moves dot max value. Everything else is just the input for the numbers. So when you get the prompt of like select the number of item or select the ID of an item, then that's pretty much all of this except for the max num. So max num is basically telling the maximum number that the user can select in that particular input. So these particular lines are exactly the same except for the message here. So selecting the Pokemon ID, selecting the item ID and selecting the move ID. But in short, all of these three are doing the same exact thing. They are just giving you a number input and returning that particular number. In case of Pokemon, choose Pokemon ID, it's returning the Pokemon number. In case of items, it is returning the item, and same for moves. Next up are going to be the teleport and teleport back functions. So the teleport function is first storing the current position of the player before teleporting to Nirvana and then teleporting to Nirvana. So the variable 101 that we created earlier is basically there for checking whether or not the user is currently in Nirvana or not. If it is 1, then the player is in Nirvana. If it is 0, then the player is not in Nirvana. So what we are doing here is basically saving the player's current position, that is the map ID. So the map ID where the player is currently and the X and Y coordinates in variables 102, 3 and 4. After that, we are changing the player's current position to these particular things. So the map changes to 22, the X and Y coordinates change to 14 and 23, and finally the direction changes to 2. So the direction 2 basically means that the player will be facing north after the player gets transferred. After that, we are just refreshing the map and setting the variable to 1 because now the player is in Nirvana. The reverse of that happens in teleport back, but in teleport back we are not storing anything. We are just changing the player's current position to the old map that the player was in. So we are just getting the variables from the 102, 3 and 4, which will take the player to the old map where the player was, and direction again is north. So that's the same here. Next up is the default frame rate. This is used for the PB God speed. So default frame rate will basically store the frame rate that the game has hard coded. So the game comes usually with some frame rate that the developers have set. So usually this frame rate is 40. So we are storing that in this particular variable, which the God speed will use. So if the default frame rate matches the current frame rate, then it will change back to the default frame rate. It will change to the default frame rate times 4, which means that the game will be 4 times faster. Otherwise, if the default frame rate is not equals to the current frame rate, then it will change back to the default frame rate. So that basically toggles the God speed. Next up is going to be the toggling of debug mode, which is pretty much straightforward. So if debug is on, then it will change to off. If it is off, then it will change to on. Next up is instant party heal. It will go through all of your Pokemons and then heal them using the .heal function. And next is going to be the PB new select style. So this function is responsible for checking whether or not you're using the ID style or the list style of selection. So what this does is, first of all, this part is checking for if the file exists or not. If it does not, then it will create the file and it will put 1 inside it. So the 1 basically means that ID style is selected, and if it is anything else, then it is not the ID style. So it usually doesn't check for this because we are going to create the file ourselves. So this usually goes to the else, and which basically gets the file, checks the number, and if it is 1, it returns true, otherwise it returns false. So that will basically let us know whether or not ID style is selected or not. Next up is going to be the toggle select style. So what this does is basically open the file and change the file's content. If it is 1, then it will change to 0. If it is 0, then it will change to 1. So basically this will toggle between the list and ID style. Next up are going to be the storage boxes. Basically this one is going to get the number of boxes you want in your storage. Like if the game already has 21, you can get between 1 to 99 boxes, and then it will just take that number and use the add box function inside the Pokemon storage, and will add the boxes, the number of boxes you give. Now add box is not a default function, we will be adding that later. Next up is going to be get all Pokemon and get all Pokemon level. So get all Pokemon level is basically just a number input, which will just give us what level of Pokemons you want. So this will just return a number that will be the level of the Pokemons you want. Next up is the Pokemon get all Pokemon. So what this does is first get the level from this function, and after that it will just go through every single Pokemon in the game and it will give you that Pokemon. PB adds Pokemon silent basically gives you the Pokemon without any messages. So this will add to your party or boxes automatically and will not tell you anything about that. Let's just apply that and let's go to the next part, which is going to be the pause menus codes. Let's press 2, press enter, and then just press 1 and press enter. Then we can just go back to the scripts, look for the pause menu. Okay, here. So P screen pause menu. Now again, these particular variable names or the script names can be something different, but you need to find the correct thing. So in the pause menu, Pokemon pause menu, you need to go here where the variables are initiated. So just go to the last variable, press enter and press paste. Press Ctrl V to paste whatever was copied. These spaces are not necessary, I'm just adding them for aesthetic reasons. Here we are creating the new variables for the menu items, and now we will be adding the menu items themselves. So go to this particular line where you can see the debug line, and then after that just press enter and go back to the script copier, select the second one, press enter, go back and paste. Now what this is doing is basically checking whether or not the player is already in Nirvana. If the player is not, which means 0, then we are going to use the teleport option, otherwise we are going to use the teleport back option. Now let's go to the loop do. So here we have the loop do. Inside that we need to go to the if and just look for the next elif or else if. So this is the one. You need to go to the line previous to it, just press enter, press backspace once, then just go back here and select the third one, press enter, go back and paste it. So here what we're doing is, if the CMD teleport option is used, then we are using the PB teleport. If CMD teleport back option is used, then we are using PB teleport back. Let's just apply that and let's just go back to the scripts copier. This is done, so we are going to use 0, enter. We are going to the control codes. So just press 3, press enter, press 1 here. We are going to first do the key press action, press enter. Go back here, go to P system, and here what you need to do is select this particular 3 lines. So trigger, input F7, PB debug, end. Just select all of that and press Ctrl V. This will replace what happens with the keys. So this This one will basically toggle the debug. So when F7 is pressed, it will toggle debug. When Alt is pressed, it will toggle Godspeed. When F6 is pressed, if the player is in Nirvana Map, then the player will be teleported back. If the player is not, then the player will be teleported to Nirvana. F10 will do the instant party heal, and F11 will toggle the select style between IDs and list. After that, just apply that, and we'll go back and select the second option. Now here it will be telling you where to go and where to paste it. So you need to go to module input, just like we did before, but we already know that it's in the P systems control. So I'll just go back here, and here in the module input, this time we need to go to the last value, press enter, and just paste what's copied here. I'm just going to add these spaces for aesthetic reasons. Again, you do not need to do that. Let's go here now. So we need to go to the self dot button to key here. Go to the last one, just press enter after that. Press backspace once. Go back to the scripts copier, and now you need to press enter. And here you can see it's again telling you where to paste this. Go back here below the last when input, just paste what's copied. And since this is using a style different from version 16 and yeah, just version 16, because 17 was also using this, then you need to change something, basically make this look like this. So what I'm going to be doing is removing this all, so return, and I'm just going to add a semicolon here and add spaces. Then I'm going to do the same for this. I'll just go here, add the spaces, and we are good to go. After that, we can exit the control codes, and I'm just going to press 0, which will get us back. Next up is going to be the PBS extract page, which is going to be 5. Press enter. Go back here, go to where you added the God mode scripts, and just below that you need to insert another script. So I'll just name that PBS extract scripts. After that, you need to just paste what's copied here. Now I'll explain what happens in this particular script. So this is the main function. This is going to use all of the functions that are below. It will check whether or not the directory exists, so the IDs folder exists or not. If it does not exist, then it will create a new directory with that name. After that, it's going to use all of the the 4 functions that are below. So the first function is for PB extract species list. Now what this does is just create a new file that's named here, and then goes through every single Pokemon in the game and then gets its name, and then stores the name along with its ID in the file. That's the same for items, and that's the same for moves, but it just goes through all of the items instead, and it just goes all of the moves instead. Next up is the PB make trigger. So what this does is basically creates the file that contains whether or not we are using the ID style. So it will create the trigger.txt and puts 1 inside it. 1 basically means that we are going to use the ID style. Just apply that, and let's go back to the scripts. And now we are going to get the catch trainer Pokemon. So let's just press 6 and press enter. Now let's go back here, and also you can see what we need to do. So we basically need to find this particular line and inside this particular script. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the script will be named this, but it will be something similar. So I'll just go back here and I'll press Ctrl Shift F, and I'll search for is snag ball. After that, we have Pokebattle underscore battle common. We need to go to this particular thing. We need to jump, and here we can see that the line has something similar that's given here. So we need to just go 1 line above this, press enter, and press Ctrl V to paste what's copied. Now select these 5 lines, just press tab and go to the end, press enter and type end. What this does is basically checks whether or not you have pressed the control button. If you have pressed the control button, it will not check for all of this. It will just go to the next line. If you have not, it will also check for all of this, which is the code that's checking for whether or not you are facing a trainer and you have a snack ball or not. If you have the snack ball, then you might be able to get the Pokemon. Otherwise, it will just block your Pokeball. Let's go to the scripts copier again, and now we are going to add the add storage boxes function. So let's just press 7, press enter, go back to the scripts, and here you need to do a Control Shift F again and search for class Pokemon storage. Press enter, and you can see we need to use this particular one, which is inside the Pokemon storage. Just jump to it and look for max boxes. So here we have the max boxes here. Just go to that, click on the end of max boxes and just press enter and just paste whatever is copied here. What this does is basically gets a number and then goes through that number. So this basically if we give 5, this particular line will run 5 times, and this will basically push a new box inside that inside the storage. So that's responsible for adding the number of boxes you want. Next up, I think we are done with the script copying. So we need to start doing some extra things. So first of all, we need to add the debug actions. So we need to go to the debug menu, search for add item. After that, this is not the one we need to go. We need to press enter once again, and here we have the when add item. So here we need to select all of this, and first of all let's go back to the already made Pokemon Essentials version 18 God mode. So here we need to open the scripts, go to the debug menu, again search for add item, and let's go here and then copy everything that's inside this. So let's just copy that, go back to the game via hacking, which we have already selected, and replace that with what we have copied. Click on apply and then search for add Pokemon. Now here we have the PB choose species list function. Just double click that, Control Shift F, and add DEF at the beginning along with a space. Just press enter, and we have editor utilities. Just jump to that, and here inside the function, just go to the top line inside the function and add if PB new select style, and inside that you need to type return PB choose Pokemon ID, and then type end and apply. You need to do the same for the PB choose species move list. So just copy all these 3 lines, and then here you have the PB choose move list. Just go 1 line below, paste whatever is copied, correct the indentation, and also change this Pokemon to move, so it will be PB choose move ID. What we're doing here is basically when these 2 functions are used, then it will check whether or not the ID style is selected. So if the ID style is selected, then it will return the value from ID selection. Otherwise, it will just go through all of the Pokemon list. After applying that, we also have to do one more thing, which is extracting the IDs. So in order to do that, we need to go back to PA Systems system, and here we need to first of all make this a comment, and after that just add a new line and name, and just type PB extract PBS. After that just click on apply, okay, and just save it. Okay, so at this point the God mode should be usable. So let's just go to the game, and now let's just test with the God speed. So God speed is working. I'm just going to press enter to skip all of this. Open that. let's just first of all do F8, which will extract the IDs. So pressing F8, species list generated, items list generated, and moves list generated along with the trigger file. Once that is done, we can just start testing the rest of the things. So F6. Okay, so F6 is working correctly. We are in the correct map now. Let's press F6 to go back. Let's press F7. So the debug mode is enabled and we have the debug menu here. Just press C here and let's see if the item ID selection is working correctly. So the ID system is working correctly. Let's just add something. Let's just check whether or not it is in our bag. So it is in our bag now. Let's also test adding a new Pokemon so that we can check whether or not that is working. It seems to be working. Yep, it's working. Okay, so at this point, everything should be working. If it is not, I'm always available on my Discord server. Now, before you join the Discord server, you must make sure that your account is at least 24 hours of age. Anyways, we need to do one more thing before we complete this. You need to go back to the scripts editor and here you need to reset this particular thing. So just remove pb extract pbs and also uncomment this. So we do not need to extract the IDs again and again. So we are just going to remove that and save the game. So that's Pokemon Essentials version 18 God mode. Next up is going to be version 19 and version 19 is a little different. So you need to make sure that you are paying attention to it.